Okay, this is about the competitive intelligence general introduction. We start here with the definition of competitive intelligence. It is given by the SCIP, the Society of Competitive Intelligence Professionals. That is a very important society. I think it's a good idea if you become a member, if you follow what they do. I want you to read this definition through. It's a complicated one. I will not ask for your exam to give the definition, but I want you to have an understanding what competitive intelligence actually does. If I read it up to you, it is the process of monitoring the competitive environment. It enables senior managers to make informed decisions. And these informed decisions are about anything, about marketing, R&D, investment things, business strategies, you name it. It's actually, and this is important, the competitive intelligence is a continuous process. And it involves a legal and ethical collection of information, analysis, and it doesn't avoid unwelcome conclusions. Now this means it says legal and ethical. It means because there are companies who steal information, who steal patents or secrets or what have you. That's not the idea. It's on a legal and ethical way. But it's important. Now, these corporations are under an increased pressure to meet market expectations and comply with all the regulators' rules and shareholder value demands. So here's a little expression, all the things that they have to look at. It's sort of a paradox. What I find interesting to learn is that competitive intelligence, if I look at the global 1,000 of the companies, many of them do not have a unit that is responsible for competitive intelligence. Actually, if you then go to these 1,000 biggest firms and you ask their executives where they believe in, they say, well, success depends on looking ahead and make a first move and being strategic flexible. For that, you need competitive intelligence. So, but then they don't have a unit doing it. So it's a very interesting thing. Now, let's look at a bit of a more easy way of describing what competitive intelligence is. Here's a short list that says it is the information that has been analyzed to a point that you can make a decision. It's sort of a tool to alert management to early warnings of both threats and opportunities. It's a means to deliver reasonable assessment, and it comes in many different shapes and flavors and colors. It's a way for companies to improve their bottom line. Well, just go through that list. I think it's quite interesting. It's important for you to know that there are different categories of competitive intelligence. There is market intelligence. They actually look at industry level of information on trends, on regulations, on geopolitical issues. That is the intelligence about the market. Partner intelligence is about your suppliers, for example, or strategic partners, and your intelligence then monitors their activities. Competitor intelligence is the one which is mostly applied, and that's a continuous monitoring and analysis of your most important competitors. It's about the high-level scans of, let's say, general competitors in a wider scale. And there is an ongoing identification of new competitors who just enter the market. Technical intelligence means actually monitoring changes in and developments in your technology that you apply or that you depend upon. And then finally, there is a customer or prospect intelligence. They actually determine, monitor the internal influences, the budget cycles, key focus areas concerning your customers. Now, in this one here, you have an overview, and I showed you this before in a previous lecture, but I find it important for you to have this knowledge, that you say, if this is me with my core process, and with the different data sets I need, like my knowledge base and my research and my past and current and future intelligence, I also have a fixed number of suppliers. I follow them. I have intelligence about my resources, where everything comes from. I have competitors, and I follow them. That's my competitor intelligence. But I also have customer intelligence, but I do follow the clients of my customers, the client of client intelligence. For the whole market, I do my market intelligence. I follow the media in the media intelligence. I look at all my stakeholders for stakeholder intelligence, etc. Please have a sense of where everything fits. And then finally you say, if I have all that intelligence and that overview, I now have sort of a strategic level of intelligence by which I can make informed decisions. Interesting enough, you can make all sort of beautiful three-dimensional screens. I will in a later stage in this course, I will show you beautiful examples of data visualizations. But for example, you can say if I map my organizational intelligence, then I do follow companies. And I can then, for example, say companies, I got data from them, I got information, I do have insights from them, I even have knowledge and experience from them. The same with industry. I have maybe not only from industry or concerning general trends or country information, not only data, information, insights and knowledge, I have that very general, I might have that very specific, or even I may have that tailored for my own needs because I'm only interested in a certain minute market or niche or specialization. So where do you stand with your intelligence? And if you follow everything, then you can say, okay, I'm actually good with companies, but industry-wide, I'm only generally informed via information, and I don't hardly have any specific data available or what have you. So by mapping it out in a 3D scheme, you can then see for any organization how their intelligence is organized over a wider scheme. Let's look at the quality of the individual intelligence professional. In fact, the intelligent professional has 3 skill sets. They are very good in communication. They know the customer relation skills, and they know how to collect and research. And think about data and facts and experience and education. They all put it together, and they sort of make it into an area where they say, well, together with intuition and instinct, we do some critical thinking, and we come to a decision area in which we give recommendations for our company to go to a next level. But see it this way, the base is collection and research skills. You have to be able to communicate them well. And you communicate them well in a customer relationship setting with your demanders. Now, if you look at competitive intelligence, there is a theory and a reality. In theory, we are using formal competitive intelligence models. But in reality, we often use informal brainstorming sessions where people come up with hearsays, little experiences, we put them all together, and that is actually how we fill up sort of a profile, or we try to map out a risk. In theory, we say, please use many sources of information, but the reality is that we use top management sources and industry analysts, and these few resources we say, oh yeah, that's it, okay, they say it, it will be fine. It's this and this analyst was saying it, so who cares about all the other sources? Yeah? Officially, in theory, we monitor competitors on a matrix that we use in reality actually informal information gathered from salespeople who actually stumble in and say, wow, I spoke there, and they actually bought that and that from so, and that's one competitor. And that story often is experienced stronger and has a longer life than what competitive intelligence people monitor and put into their matrix. Now, another one. In theory, we say gather information for a total picture. Geopolitical, regulations, trends, etc. But in reality, we use informal information just from employees or industry analysts who walk in and tell us something. Okay? In theory, the CEO, the highest level of management, get briefed on a regular basis. But that's not what happened. Normally the CEO actually wants things and you give it whenever they ask. So the reality often is very different. But it's interesting to look at these both lines and see what you can make of that. The intelligence pyramid is something else. Often when we have data and we start to bring order in that data, we then call it information. And information, the moment we make that information so that we start to develop an understanding why what will happen, we call it knowledge. The moment that knowledge is so applied that we can predict what will happen when, we call it intelligence. But only when intelligence will actually give us the possibility to take action, then we say we have actionable intelligence. And the moment you make decisions based on actionable intelligence, that means that you listen to the actionable intelligence when it is ripe to do something you make a decision based on that, and then it's a serious action. That is the intelligence pyramid, and that's an important overview. Have a look at that. Fooled, F-U-L-D. Fooled is important. I really, it's actually a professional. It's a professional competitive intelligence organization, a company that is founded in the States and is doing really well. They even written books which are very readable, very interesting about competitive intelligence and how to deal with that. And I just want you to go briefly through the full lessons learned about intelligence. The first one is you don't know where to look, and they say, well, you know, if money is exchanged, wherever that happens, you can follow that money and it will leave a trail of information. Not specifically written, sometimes rumors. If you follow the money or follow the information, you know more or less whatever happened outside your view. The second thing, what they say is, you must try to become your own competition. That means you have to overcome mental barriers. The competitive intelligence manager is the one person in the organization who knows the competition and the products better than anyone. So you have to really live as if you are your competitor. What would you do if you were them? What would you not do? What would you aim for? So that's a very important skill. War games and early warning, it's of course not a war. It's also not a game. But you have to think in a way, what if? And then you take the responsibility by saying, what would I do if this was the case? So it's a very serious game. They do say things like dare to put an elephant on the table. It's an American expression. We'll talk about that. It's actually that you should be brave enough to make a big statement and defend what consequences would be if this was true. Okay, a tried and proven methodology. The focus comes from preparation, from being a very good facilitator. The serious causes need serious framework. We will look at Porter in a few slides from now, and that is a serious framework. Delivery is key, it's number 4. You tell the story, you sell the story as a competitive intelligence officer. That means you studied your data sets, you studied the information available, and then you come with a story people want to listen to. That's important. Otherwise, your story is snowed under. Finally, as and that's also in the number 4, you simply not finish yet until your management have accepted your findings in the intelligence and say, oh wow, you might be right, let's take action. Let's implement a strategy based on what you found. So that is as far as you must go. What is interesting in competitive intelligence is that you often have to look for what is not said. If you look at competitors who release all sort of statements in the public relations or in the communication, say, why? Why do you release that statement as a PR? Why is this or that company suddenly publishing that information or research now? Why didn't they do that last year? Why didn't they wait? There must be a reason. There's a reason behind anything. So they don't say this and that, but they act like that, so I have to fit it in. It's like a puzzle. It's a very interesting thing. Number 6, you actively have to use blogs and discussion groups for competitive intelligence. There are several things. If you are monitoring discussion groups that are held by your competitors, you can also participate in them and try to see how to respond on what you have to say. Number 7, transparency is power. Chances are somebody in your organization already know. And that's the thing, often that is the case. If you say, oh, I don't believe it, this or that company is bust or is taken over or is whatever. And some people say, yeah, but that was logical, we could see that coming. You could actually spot these people before and already talk with them. Encourage debate, encourage a free flow of ideas in your organization to get all that stuff on the table. Actually, an entrepreneurial model is a good model for competitive intelligence in your company. That means that everybody feels that they are the entrepreneur. Yeah? and have to take that responsibility. Finally, power of networks, 6 degrees of separation. It's sort of a way of saying that everybody is connected to anyone in this world. As long as you apply your networks well, everybody is just 3 phone calls away. So you have to apply your network. If you think, oh, this is interesting, I want to know what that supplier is at the moment doing with that competitor, you have a network, and you have to really know your network and work it so that you get to that information. The power of networks, that's your final one. So full, that's 8 lessons. I expect you to know them and to search a bit on them yourself to get more depth of understanding. If you map your business environment, this is another way of doing it. In the center, you put your own organization and you say, okay, where are my suppliers, my partners, my distributors? Where are my customers, my competitors? And interesting, who are the newcomers? Because your competitors normally do the same thing. My newcomers might have a new approach. You're going to learn a lot from them. These are called your direct forces. Your indirect forces are basically your regulatory changes, your economy, your technology, your demographics, your politics. There's things you can't really do much yourself about. They're more easy to follow, but they're a bit more indirect. Well, Porter's competitive forces model actually says, if you got myself here in the middle, I have industry competitors. And with the industry competitors, there are 2 things can happen. It might be so, if that is not the case, there is a threat that new entrants will come in. Or my product or my services will be substituted for something else. Wherefore I'm out of business. So you really have to look there in your competition in a very interesting and diverse way. That's also concerning suppliers. And this is quite an advanced overview, and also towards your buyers. And we will go through that during class, and we will do some exercises so that you have a sense that if you have a supplier, buyer, a new entrant and a substitute and a total overview, that you have to be able to populate the entry barriers, the supplier power, the buyer power, and the rivalry determines to have a total view. Competitive intelligence often has beautiful graphs like identifying the market position of rivals. And you say, well, if there's a price-quality relation on one hand and there is a geographic coverage on the other hand, you see often that it's in line. If you have a low price, then companies will have many locations like Walmart or Kmart. If you have a high price of quality, then you often have only a few locations like Gucci and Chanel shops. These sort of things, they're just a few, and you want to travel the distance to go there, and that's where the exclusivity is. Now, if you then connect all the dots, then you actually see sort of a bandwidth going from upper left to bottom right corner. But there's more graphs. It's actually beautiful to use them. There's the product life cycle between the demand and the time, emerging, growth, maturity, and decline. The growth is always the same, but it's interesting to see where different products are also from competitors and how they look. There is the learning curve. There is the growth share matrix, where you see the industry growth towards the relative share. There's the business strength matrix, where you see the business attractiveness and the industry attractiveness plotted out. These sort of overviews are very powerful in competitive intelligence. Now you can make mistakes, and often they do. They analyze so much that you finally end up with too much conclusions. There's often you see that they express themselves very cloudy in certainties only analysis will do, and you can't make any decision on that. Or they water down their findings to an extent that you have no findings left to go for. These are interesting things. Now, you want to know where you will build up your competitive intelligence. Now, actually, they think that 10% of all data used in most commercial intelligence activities come from published sources. That means that 90% will come from primary sources, just like interviews with key people, with real visual sightings, that you see things, that you observe it yourself, that you measure things from your own initiative. Yeah? Most companies are private, not public. That means that most companies do not have to publish anything in the open, and it's very difficult to follow what they do, and you really have to investigate in different ways than only go to a library or read your paper or browse the web. It's not on there. You have to find new ways. in the final slide the 10 commandments of the intelligence gathering. Have a look at them. It's also from Fould and Company, where we had the other ones from. Thank you.